Please remain on the line. The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Okay, welcome everyone to OSHPD's webinar series. This is thank you for joining us first of all, and want to take this a brief moment to let you know and understand that we are all going through some very tough and interesting times. So we here at OSHPD hope that you and your loved ones are all staying safe and keeping your distance and with all the craziness going on in the world. I'll go over. My name is Caesar. I'm going to go ahead and help with the webinar presentation today. I'll go over some housekeeping items to begin with, and just a couple of items. So bear with me. We have a lot of interesting information for you, a lot of informative information. So I hope you're taking notes and paying attention because this is going to prove to be helpful for you. So. Once again, welcome to part 2 of OSHPD's 5-part IOR series. Today's webinar's title is How to Prepare for the Exam. We are going to be here for about an hour. Hopefully, we can stay within that time frame. I know your time is valuable, so we respect that. You will all be muted during the presentation. If you have any questions, that you want to ask, be sure to ask the question in the go-to question toolbar. Please keep your questions generic for the purposes of this presentation. We'll try to answer them at the end of the presentation the best we can. If you do have specific questions that you'd like to further discuss or want to have a conversation with us here at ISU or Inspection Services Unit, please email us at oshpd.fddisu@oshpod.ca.gov. Again, that's oshpod.fddisu@oshpod.ca.gov. And today we're going to mix it up a little bit. We're going to have some poll questions throughout the actual presentation. So pay attention, and it's going to be some good info for you. And the poll questions are designed to kind of help you better understand the IOR exam and the process as to what we're trying to show and present. So technical issues. If we have technical issues, if we experience transmission difficulties, please, what we'll do is we'll go ahead and log off and then log back in. Please be sure to use the same registration link to log back in. So hopefully that won't happen. We today here have Joe Labrie as a presenter, and then we have a guest speaker, Mr. Dave Carina with the American Construction Inspectors Association, or ACIA. You may be familiar with that organization. He's going to go over some real brief points, what to do, what did he do to prepare for the OSHPD Class A exam, and he's going to provide some recommendations as to how to prepare for the actual exam. At the end of the presentation, we'll go over through some question and answers. And again, we'll try to answer the questions the best we can. So with that being said, Joe, I hand the mic over to you. So all yours.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Glad you could join us. We hope you find this informative. I want to talk about how to prepare for the IOR exam. And we're going to flip through, if I could get this thing to flip. We're going to flip through some slides here starting out with an agenda. Hopefully you guys are seeing that right now. We're going to have an introduction. What's the format of the exam? How do you prepare? What happens after you pass? Who employs the IOR? We're going to talk about some fundamentals regarding the different licenses, and we're going to talk about responsibilities an IOR has.
So with that being said, we get to our first series of poll questions. And just a reminder, please please interact with us. We want to know a little bit more about who you are, where you come from, what your background is. And with that being said, answer the question as quick as you can, as you know, we only have an hour to do this presentation. So please answer the best you can. We'll go ahead and keep the polling session to as short as possible. I'll try to give everybody a chance to respond, and we'll share the results at the closing of each poll question as well. So it looks like most of you are done answering the poll question. So I'll go ahead and close the actual question, and we'll share the results with you. So from what you see is no, you've never taken the exam, so that's a good thing. And that's what we're here to do. We're here to explain to you a little bit more of what to expect for, during the exam, how to prepare for the exam, the format of the actual exam itself as well. So we'll go on to the next question. We want to know, what is your background? Is your background in construction? So please go ahead and answer that. And, you know, typically, of course, the amount of IORs that we have and the applications that we have are in construction background, one form or another, right? It's either you were a city inspector, county inspector for a jurisdiction, or you may have been a contractor, or you may have been an owner's representative. And that's always qualifying, maybe qualifying to qualify for the exam. Here through OSHPD, Class A, B, or C, depending on what you're looking for. So as you can see, the majority of you do have construction background. 86% of you said yes, 14% of you said no. And for those that don't have construction background, that's quite all right. If you we'll go over through the minimum qualifications and kind of explain that to you a little more. So we'll go on to the next question that we have here. Let me get to that screen. So did you register for all of the IOR webinar sessions? Important for you to know that we do have, this is a 5-part series, and looking to provide a lot of good information during this 5-part. So I'm gonna wait for a minute and let everybody answer. And this is great, everybody. Thank you for participating in this. It looks like the majority of you are answering the questions. So thank you so much for this. I'll go ahead and close this question as well. And it looks like, yeah, most of you did register for all of the sessions, which is a great thing, because today we're presenting how to prepare for the exam. Next, we're going to talk about, for the next session, we're going to talk about how to speak IOR. Session 4 is going to be how to succeed as an IOR, and session 5 is going to be a summary. So it's going to be this series is we're hoping that it's helpful for you. And then we want to know, which IOR certification are you interested in? Are you interested in Class A, B, C, or you don't know, which is maybe a no vote? And it's going to be either way, we're able to help you. We're able to answer questions for you. And this presentation is going to provide a little bit of A information, a little bit of Class B information, a little bit of Class C information as well. So, so again, thank you for participating. And let me go ahead and share the results for you. So the majority of you are interested in Class A, which is great. Class A, for those that don't know, is the highest level of IOR certification, where you can inspect on an OSHPD job all assets or facets of the construction. So, and then we'll go to the last question here. The last question is, we want to know, how familiar are you with OSHPD? Did you know about OSHPD before you attended the series, or how? Just a little bit information for us so we can better gear future presentations for you. And I'm seeing that some people, not so much, not familiar with OSHPD, and that's okay. OSHPD, as you go through this series, and hopefully those that are saying not so much, you did register for the other webinars, which we're going to be able to explain to you what it is we do, what is an IOR responsible for, what are you supposed to do. So with that being said, that's the last poll question for this series. I'm going to share the results with you. And as you can see, a lot of you are very familiar, some are not so much. So normal familiar, you may have been involved with an OSHPD project as a subcontractor, or assisting inspections, or owner's rep. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and close the polling for this session, and we will go on to the next slide. So Joe, from here, it's all yours.
All right, thank you. I appreciate everybody's participation in that. Be sure you click right on the screen for the response to those poll questions, and not in the question box. It's important that we're capturing all of your thoughts. But I'm also really encouraged to see the number of people interested in that A exam and that IORA class certification. We need IORs out there. We need A licensed IORs and Bs and Cs also, but I'm glad to see that. So let's get into it. Buckle up. Let's go. What is OSHPD's Inspection Services Unit? I'm just going to do this by orientation. The Inspection Service Unit is responsible for the oversight, the ongoing training and education of both IORs, but also OSHPD field staff. We're made up currently of 6 people: architects, structural engineers, inspection folks. All of them are participating on today's session, and they're going to help with the answering of questions at the end of this presentation. And how does OSHPD work with the IORs? Well, we do the certification. We administer the exam. We do the recertification exam. We do the ongoing training and monitoring, and we do corrective measures. So ISU is responsible for that part of it. As difficult as it is, we are asked to identify and work on corrective course corrections on anything we see as being problematic or outside of the administrative regulations in the way of a performance of an IOR. How should IORs understand ISU? If you take away nothing other than this point right now, it would mean a lot to me. And that is, you should look at ISU, the Inspection Services Unit at OSHPD, as a team of people who are there to help you, to support you, to help you be the best IOR that you can be. That's how you should look at it. You should not look at us as the people who are going to come around, spanking people for non-performance. I'm not saying that won't happen, but that's generally who we don't want to be. We want to be there to help support you get where you want to get in your profession. We need quality assurance people. We need people like you. So let's talk about the exam itself and the sections in the exam. If I can see if I can click through this. Hang on. All right, so it's skipping around a little bit. Okay, so I'm bouncing around a little bit here only because there's a little bit of a lag here that I'm not used to on the transition of the screens. So what's in the exam format for a Class A IOR exam? It's an open book exam. You're going to need to know about the code, and you're going to need to know about how to read plans. There's 80 questions. You have 4 answers. You have 4 hours to answer these questions. It's in the morning, it's in the afternoon. The code knowledge is weighted on administrative regulations and structural discipline. On the plan reading, it's weighted on the structural discipline. What about the B exam? It's 80 questions to be answered in 4 hours. Code knowledge, right? Code knowledge is 80 questions, 4 hours. Weighted in administration. The plan reading is also important. 40 questions to be answered in 2 hours. And it's not weighted on any one discipline. Okay, what about Class C? It's open book again. There's no plan reading questions. There's 40 questions, 28 in the administrative regulations, and 20 if you're doing the anchorage and bracing specialization. There'll be 20 questions there. They're to be answered in 2 hours if you're doing both. And they're evenly weighted on the administrative regulations and anchorage and bracing. So let's get some examples of some tests. So here's a test. In accordance with the section of code, who shall submit to the Office of Verified Compliance report with their signature and based on their own personal knowledge? Is it the architect, engineer, IOR, approved agency, special inspector, contractor, owner, builder, all of the above? How do you find the response to that? First of all, there's a couple things you need to know. First thing you need to do is get to the right book, right? What book is it? Well, this administrative regulations. And then within the right book, you need to get to the right chapter. Well, what chapter is it? Well, chapter 7 is safety standards for hospitals or healthcare facilities. So then you go, okay, good, I'm in the right section. Now what's the right chapter? Now what section? We're talking about construction. Now you're really just zeroing in, right? And when you get to the right section, you read the section and you look for the types of words that were captured in the question. And you can find section 7-151 right there. And the big tip-off was we gave it in the question where to look. And that's where you would go find the answer. It's all of the above. Now, for the purpose of what we're doing here, I care, and by the way, these particular questions are not on the exam. These are examples that we've extracted from a pool of questions that we have, just to give you a flavor of what to expect. So here's another question. This is electrical. So right off the bat, there should be a pretty good idea you're going to be going the electrical code. But utilization equipment weighing not more than blank shall not be permitted to be supported on other boxes or plaster rings that are secured to other boxes, provided the equipment or its supporting yoke is secured to the box with no fewer than 2 number blank screws. All right, so how do we get to the answer? Again, it's kind of the same process, right? We want to know, well, what book do we need to be in? Well, that's the CEC. And then what chapter we need to be in? We need to be in chapter 3, and then we need to look and study the table of contents. And it'd be really good if you're studying this in advance of ever coming right to the test, is you have some familiarity with the table of contents of the various code books. And then from that section, you're able to extract the answer. You dig in, you have to study a bit on it, you have to search a little bit, search for some of the key words that are included in the question. And you can find that code section that's shown in red right there. That is the answer is 6 pounds and number 6 screws. Just a couple more, I think. So here's a plumbing question. Test gauges used during pressure testing of plumbing systems shall have a pressure range not exceeding blank the test pressure applied. Okay. All right. And so same idea. Here's the code book, plumbing code. Boom. Here's the section, or here's the chapter I need to be in. Here's the section. And you can see the answer twice. And again, plan reading, we start to look at something a little bit different now, right? Now we're not looking at the code. Now it's plan reading. What do you need to know? You need to understand some fundamentals about understanding how plans are assembled, how they're put together. This particular example is particularly easy because it's asking in detail 16. So if I'm taking the test, the first place I'm looking is a detail 16. Sill details at openings for openings between 8'3" and 12 feet, which is the size of the sheet metal screw that you need for that application, 2, 4, 8, or a 10. Then if you look in the drawings and you dig into the details, you can see very clearly on that lower left box in the portion C, that's between 8'3" and 12 foot openings. It requires a number 8 sheet metal screw at 12. All right, more plan reading, couple more. The sample question for plan reading here is at the provided interior elevation, which is the mounting height for the flow 01. So right off the bat, you're looking at the drawing, you're going, okay, where's flow 01? You're looking for that item, right? There it is on the right. And then you're saying, okay, what's the dimension? Okay, you see 5 feet. That looks like a dimension that would apply to flow 01. The correct answer is 5 feet. Not terribly difficult, folks, particularly if you have familiarity and understanding how plans are put together. The key is understanding how plans are put together. And if you don't have plans, I suggest get your hands on some sets of plans that you can comb through and get familiar with just the general assembly of these things. I think this is the last question in this group. In a typical operating room ceiling, in which of these notes is the information for the LSD02? So you're looking at the plan and you're saying, okay, I'm looking, and I want to make a point. It's real easy to think, okay, it's real easy to get bound up in, looking at the detail instead of making sure you really understand the question. It's asking which note. There is a note that you're looking for. You're looking for the identification of a note. And then you dig into the plan and you say, all right, let me find that note because that's the answer to the question. And you find that, gee, there's LSD02, looks like it's note 6.68. That's where I find the information. That's the answer to the question. So, code knowledge. Let's talk generalities about how to prepare for it. And this is based on feedback we receive from IORs up and down the state of California. They have additional things that I just didn't have space to include all of it, but I want to read some of these highlights. High-level study of the codes. Gather the applicable codes, make sure you have the right books, review the table of contents, and familiarize yourself with the different areas of interest. Highlight, use a highlighter, and get in there the code section, identify the titles, and note the health facilities content in particular, right? Put tabs in the code books. Identify where those sections are that are relative to healthcare facilities. Talk with others who've taken the exam and passed them. These folks know what it takes to apply themselves in a way that gets them over the hump and gets this successful result on the exam. Use the TIO template as a guide for important items that you need to know about. And that's published on the OSHPD website, easy to access. Most importantly is commit the time and energy to study for the exam every day. It's not going to happen by itself. It's a commitment. Plan reading. Understand the general organizations of plans, like I mentioned before. Study the organization, how these plans are assembled. On projects either you worked on, and if you don't have some, I'm sure there's folks in the industry that might be able to help you with that. Familiarize yourself with the table of contents on the title sheet. That's a big deal. Understand the meaning of the project symbols and abbreviations, and ask questions of other people that on areas of the plan reading that maybe you struggle with, that gee, I could really get stronger in, say, electrical. Find somebody who's good at that and have them spend some time with you. And then again, commit the time and energy to make it happen. This is actually from the exam itself, so take note. Know the symbols. Each sheet, actually, some of the screenshots you're going to see in the subsequent slides here are actually from the exam, and we're showing them to you on purpose. Each sheet has different symbols. The cover sheet has different symbols: electrical, plumbing. There's different schedules for different things, right? Understand what those things are, what they mean, how they're used throughout the drawings. Know the material designations. And each discipline has different material designations. It's important to get familiar with that. And know the abbreviations, like the previous slide said. And then know the drawing index. This is the actual drawing index from the exam. Know it. Understand, okay, where's the structural? Where are the structural details for, foundations? Understand how you can get them. So you're not spending a lot of the test time digging around trying to meander your way through to the place you need to get. If you can come to the test ready to get where you need to get quickly, the answer will become, it will flow to you a lot faster. So what happens after you pass an exam? First, you get a combined score for code knowledge and plan reading must be greater than 75%. I'm going to tell you this twice because there's a reason. 75% is the right answer. Notification of exam results available within 4 to 6 weeks from the exam date. If you fail, a failure of more than one discipline requires a reapplication and exam after 6 months. Not 2 months, not 1 month. After 6 months, that's when you apply again. And I'm emphasizing that also for a reason. Only one section exam retake is allowed, right? You can't fail 2 sections and get a retake within the 2 weeks. You have to reapply 6 months. A retake exam includes the code knowledge and the plan reading. The retake exam is completed within 2 weeks of the notification, and we're flexible. If you're on vacation or a schedule won't allow that, we'll work with you. Review of the completed exams is not allowed. We can't send you the exam so you can have that, but we will show you the example that you see there shows you how you performed on the exam so that you can have a sense about where you need to study more. Successful examinee will be requested to email a picture of their official badge once the exam is passed. The badges will be sent out within a couple weeks, and the examinees who are successful will be eligible to become IORs on projects immediately, and their credentials will immediately be available on OSHPD website for people looking for IORs. On this one here, who employs the IOR, I want to emphasize who doesn't employ the IOR, because you can look at the code and find out who employs the IOR. Who doesn't is a contractor. Who doesn't employ a IOR is a manufacturer. Who doesn't employ the IOR is OSHPD, right? It's important that everybody understand that's the hospitals that are employing the IORs. The different class of certifications you can get is the Class A, I think, as Caesar mentioned earlier on, may inspect all aspects of the construction. And it's the structural thing that really sets apart the Class A inspector. Class B inspector also may inspect a lot. However, they cannot be inspecting the structural work. The administrative part of the regulations is an important part for all classifications. The Class C inspector may inspect one or more areas of construction specialty as certified. We don't test on the certification material itself. We don't dig in on that material like you see on the screen here. Those are certifications that you as an inspector would get outside of OSHPD's domain or realm, and you'd come to the exam with one of those already under your belt.
That's a lot of information, Joe. And, something that we do want to point out at ISU and at OSHPD is that, it's important that you understand that when reading the code, you need to be able to come in and differentiate, where a sentence begins and where it stops, the commas and the exceptions, to be specific when you're reading the code. There is a lot of information. Plan reading, you have to be able to understand and be familiar with the plans and details and notes and footnotes and symbols, and there's a lot of good stuff that we're trying to push and let you understand. But I think the most important thing to understand is that when you're out in the field, as you become familiar and that you're working the field, you'll certain code sections will become ingrained in your mind. But it's okay. It's okay not to know the code in and out. But what is important is to understand how to maneuver and research the code and feel comfortable with the code and knowing where to look. So with that being said, we're into our next set of poll questions. The question is, what is the minimum percentage for passing the IOR exam? So again, please feel free to provide answers and let us know what it is that you think. And Monica, if you're here, could go ahead and provide a little more information.
So first of all, we want to remind, please answer directly to the quick poll questions, not to the question on the webinar, because like this, we would like to know exactly how many people really are answering. So I believe Caesar got the result perfect. 75% is the 99% that answer. And actually is correct because as Joe provided on his presentation, yes, it's the 75%. As a reminder, the 2019 Admin Code 7207, Section C, talks about in order to successfully pass the Class A, B, or C certification exam, the candidate must obtain a passing score in each section of the written exam. The prior code was talking about the 75%. The new code doesn't say, but we are still respecting the 75% as a combined score.
So thank you, Monica, for that. That's and I appreciate you giving the code section as well. I know a lot of people should, if you're not taking notes, should probably take notes because the code sections we're going to give you through the answer portion of the poll questions is going to be helpful for you to go ahead and crack open the California Administrative Code and research and read the code for yourself and, hopefully better understand the code section. So next question that we'd like to go throw at you is, the failure of more than one discipline combined requires a reapplication and exam, but when can you reapply? That's the question. So please answer as you see fit. Monica?
Please answer by clicking on the slide quick poll. If you are on the full screen, probably you have some technical issue to actually click the answer. So try not to have the full screen for the slide. That one, it might help you. So we are waiting for closing the poll.
Very good, and thank you for those that are participating and providing feedback. This is going to help us again with our future webinars and better, so we can better present webinars or present webinars that are better fit to help you out with this process. So I'll go ahead and close the poll question now, and I'll share the answer so everyone can see.
Very good. 96% answer as the answer 6 months, which is correct. And who answered for the 4 months? Don't be discouraged. The reason why we're having this webinar is exactly to guide you where to look on certain things, and we want to help. So we want to guide you in a way where to look for the code. And in this specific question, the code section is the admin code 7209 for the reexamination. Section A refers about the 6 months after.
All right. The next question we have here, I'll go ahead and hide this, and we only have this one, 3 more questions left. So we'll go ahead and ask the question, what should you know prior to taking the IOR exam?
And this is kind of a tricky question, but
it all goes back to knowing how to read the code. Knowing the code and where to look is fundamental. It's important. And plan reading when you're in the field is just as important because the plans are really going to tell you what it is that the DPOR, the design professional of record, is looking for in that specific design, and how the whole project in its entirety, how it all kind of works together. If you don't know, the DPOR will go ahead and submit for approval to OSHPD for plan review, and then go ahead and be reviewed by OSHPD, and then stamp approved, and then after that it becomes the approved construction documents, and those go out into the field, and that's what IORs or inspector of records and compliance officers, DSCs, or district structural engineers and fire life safety officers, that's what we look at when we're out in the field. So I'll go ahead and close the poll and share the results with you, just so you can see what everyone else is answering.
Very good, 97% code knowledge and plan reading. Just as a reminder, the admin code 7207, the portion 1 talks about Class A and Class B that both need to have code knowledge and plan reading. And section 2 talks about the examination for Class C, which is only code knowledge. But we noticed before the majority of you are applying for Class A, which this is probably the reason why the majority selected code knowledge and plan reading, but also Class C. Even if it's not part of the examination, like even Cesar said, knowing the plans is not a bad thing.
All right. Next question. We're making good time. So it's the next question is, who employs the IOR? This is something that Joe had mentioned earlier in the presentation. And I see that 30%, 40% of you have answered, and the majority of you are answering healthcare facility owners. So we'll wait a couple more seconds to go ahead and give you the opportunity to answer if you haven't done so already. And I'll go ahead and share the results with you as soon as we get there. So, 5 more seconds, and I'll close out the poll question. So I'm going to go ahead and close it now. I'm going to share the results with you. And we see that 98% of you answered that healthcare facility owners employ the IOR.
Which is extremely correct. The admin code 7144 is really defining the healthcare facility owners as who will employ the IOR. Again, it's non-OSHPD, is not the contractor.
Yeah, and this at times may be a little difficult to understand because the IOR is out in the field and you're really working elbow to elbow with the contractor and even the construction management company, and we end up having a really good working relationship with them. But just be mindful that they're not the ones that employ you. You're actually, as an IOR, you're employed by the healthcare facility owner. And last question, I'm going to go ahead and hide this results. And last question we have during this poll session is, can IOR Class B inspect and approve structural elements? And this, again, is something that Joe had mentioned in his presentation. And, for those who are not familiar with OSHPD, this may be a little confusing because Class B can really inspect almost all portions of the project, except for one. So I'll give 5 more seconds to go ahead and close this poll. And it looks like the majority are voting. So again, greatly appreciated. This information is really going to help us as we move down the line with IS2. So I'll go ahead and close the poll now, and I'll share the results with you.
Perfect. So Class B doesn't inspect the structural element. And again, the admin code 7200, section 2, refers to what Class B inspector can inspect, and structural element is only for Class A. And again, if you have questions, ask us. We are here to answer, to help you. We are here for you.
Perfect. So we'll go ahead and hide this, and we'll continue with our presentation. So, Joe, you should have control again. So please, all yours.
Okay. So we're going to hammer through what the responsibilities of the IOR are. The responsibility inspection resides on the project inspector of record. OSHPD only observes the process, and the IORs are doing the inspection. We're looking for adequate and competent inspection that's gained through continuous and periodic inspection. What's continuous inspection? Complete inspection of every part of the work. Concrete or masonry work, which can be inspected only as it's placed, for example. What's periodic? Periodic inspection means the type of work which can be completed, inspected after the work is installed while the IOR is not present and prior to cover-up. Okay, and I'm going to try to go quickly here because I want to save some time for some questions. Our IORs work under the direction of the design professional of record. The IOR is responsible to report inconsistencies on the approved construction documents. The DPR's instructions shall not cause the work to be done not in conformity. That particular sentence bothers me because of the double negative, but hey, that's just me. All right. What files are on the job site? The approved construction documents, the reports of the test inspections, the TIO program. Got to have that. It's not yours to manage if you're the IOR. I want to make that point. All codes and regulations referenced in the approved construction documents, the specifications, any research reports, manufacturers, installation drawings. The IOR should maintain field records on the construction progress for each day. These daily reports have to include the time of arrival, departure, summary of work in progress, noted deficiencies, date and time, the method of corrections. Let's see, IOR notifications to OSHPD. When is OSHPD to be notified by the IOR? When the work is started or resumed on the project, at least 48 hours in advance of the time when foundation trenches will be completed, 48 hours in advance the first placement of concrete, and when work has been suspended for a period of more than 2 weeks. Those are the times we really need you to contact us and make us aware of the delay. So what are some success checklist items? Daily reports, test lab qualifications. These are items that you want to have these documents on site for your field staff, the design professional, when they come to the site. Want to look at this, you as the inspector should have this organized and the ability to share this with those folks as they come onto the site. Special inspection qualifications, the TIO field maintenance. Obviously, this is done by the design professional of record. For some reason, this transition's kind of slow here, but bear with us. The directive or the change log, right? The design professional needs to keep a change log, needs to keep it current, needs to give it to you as the IOR, keep it on site. Verify compliance reports maintained by the design professional, but kept on site by the inspector. Submittal, shop drawing log. Again, these are things that, maintained by the designer, but these are documents that you are being asked to keep on site as well. Approved design documents, including deferred approvals, architect and engineer's observation reports when they come out to the job site, an oils list, deviation and discrepancies list. All of these documents should be at the on site in electronic form or paper form at the very least. The general contractor's QC program. That's something we all want to see, right? That's key, right? We don't always have it, but that's what we're looking for. That we're hoping that's there, and if it is there, we want you as IOR to have that on hand. Notice of non-compliance logs, special inspector reports, discrepancy and correction reports. Those are all important documents to have on site. Test reports distributed to the DPOR, the owner, the IOR, identification of seeming errors, and then witnessing of acceptance, performance testing. And the last slide I want to emphasize here is if you as an IOR want to become a special inspector for your project or a project, it's important that you note that these 5 things have to be in place. You have to be approved by the designer. You have to have the appropriate knowledge and certification to do special inspection of whatever it is you're looking at. You have to have the time and the desire per the code section. You have to have the tools necessary to do it, calibrated torque wrench, whatever it is, and the RCO has to be able to approve your workload.
Okay, so thank you, Joe, for that. I know that we had shared with you that we're going to have 3 sessions of poll questions. So we're running short on time. So what we're going to do is we're going to go real quick through the questions. I'm going to go ahead and read the question, and then Monica, if you could be so kind as to provide the actual answer for this, that would be great. So the first question is, does the IOR work under the direction of the DPOR?
Yes, the admin code 7145.3, section 3 says, yes, the IOR should work under the direction of the architect or engineer in responsible charge.
Perfect. Thank you. And then second question, does the IOR manage the TIO?
Absolutely not. Admin code 7141, the DPOR manages the TIO.
This is an important one, everybody. Just keep this in mind. Write that code section down. The IOR does not manage the TIO, although at times.
7141.
Thank you. So number 3, IOR shall maintain field records of construction progress for each day or any portion of a day that they are present at a job. True or false?
Absolutely true. Admin code 7145, portion 6.
Perfect. Thank you. And then question number 4, are the verified compliance reports maintained by the IOR?
No, like the TIO is the DPOR in charge per admin code 7151G. The IOR keeps them in the field but doesn't manage them.
Perfect. Can you give that code section one more time? I think that's very important.
7151G.
And then the last question we have here is, what does an IOR have to do if they want to be a special inspector on the job?
Needs to be approved by the DPOR, like Joe was referring. There is not a specific code that says that because the IOR as an individual can become a special inspector. There are different code sections that can direct that the DPOR needs to approve the IOR as a special inspector. And these multiple code sections are the CBC 1704A.2 as a special inspection and test, and 1704A.2.1 as a special inspector qualifications.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And that is the last portion of our presentation. So right now we want to go ahead and take this time to thank Mr. Dave Carina again for volunteering or agreeing to help us with this, give us his experience as to how the IOR exam was and what he did to prepare. So Dave, all yours.
All right. Let's check and see if you can hear me first. Everybody, can you hear me okay on there, guys?
We can hear you.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, well, I was asked what I did to prepare for myself personally. Got a lot of advice from a lot of people. The first thing I did was I joined ACIA, which is the American Construction Inspectors Association. Met a lot of really, really good people that were already DSA, Public Works, and OSHPD inspectors. The experience that I brought to the table was 25 years as a commercial general contractor with base trades of structural steel, concrete, and masonry. I also participated because I wasn't, I had not much experience as an inspector, only as a builder. So I did participate in a 2-year construction technology program in Orange County at Coastline Community College. And that was with the different disciplines, with the MEPs, with the admin code, and a lot of the community colleges, not as many offer them, but some do. Study time is got to be the most important part of your preparation. If you're only going to get out of it what you put into it. If you get lazy or if you don't really want it as badly, that's going to be a problem. So you want to make sure that you devote your time to it. I studied myself. I live in Huntington Beach. I went to the main library every night after work during the week for 2 hours. And on the weekends, I was there Saturday and Sunday for 3 hours. Sounds like a lot of time, and it is. But I wanted it pretty bad because this was a big career change for me in my 40s at the time. So I did this for 3 months. The way I studied was I brought my old school because I graduated from Long Beach State with a business degree back in 1977, probably before a lot of people's parents actually met that are here on the website, on the webinar. But the old school consisted of handwriting what I was reading. And the reason is, and it still works for a lot of people that I talk to today, is because when you're actually writing things out, you're saying it in your head more than just skimming across with fingers. And sometimes when you're reading a book or something or a magazine, you turn a page and you're like, oh God, what the heck was that? And you make a reference to something, you go back to look and you can't remember where you did. And during that time, I actually wrote down the entire California Administrative Code, Chapter 7, and also Article 517 of the electrical code, because those were areas that I decided upon on myself that I was weakest in. Also, when I became a member of ACIA, they actually have what they call the Registered Construction Inspector certification. Division 2 is Building Inspector. I also took the exam on that, and it's a long one. It's the same length as the OSHPD A. It's an 8-hour exam. It's on code and plans. It doesn't relate at all to OSHPD exactly. A lot of things may be similar as far as plan reading, because plan reading is one of the things that I find a lot of people need a lot more work on. But because of the preparation I did in that, I scored a 92% on that. And when I did pass my OSHPD the first time, all the hours that I put into it really paid off, because I can't remember the lady that was in charge at the time, but I scored in the high 90s. So I was very fortunate with that. I polled a lot of the current OSHPD members of ACIA, and got a lot of feedback as far as people's study habits that they're recommending. So one of them is check into your local community college and see which ones that are closest to you that actually still offer construction technology courses, because a lot of them still do. A lot of them focus on inspections. And if you can only do one or two, discover, find out for yourself which areas that you need the most work on. I would recommend highly take the classes there. Maybe even get the ICC cert when you pass it, just to give yourself that practice mode into the exam. You're only going to get out of it what you put into it. There's no shortcuts to any of this. You got to stay focused on your commitment. So you have to plan for a lot of study hours in this. Myself personally, I probably put in about 10 hours for every hour of the exam. Most people are recommending 5 to 10 hours. I've had a couple people say 1 to 2 hours for every hour of the exam. But the problem with that is that you're only studying for 1 week, and it's really you got to have some serious photographic memory for that. Keep your study schedule consistent. It's a long-term gain for temporary sacrifice. It's a lot of time that you're giving up. But if this is a career change for you, it's extremely important. Put yourself in an area that is conducive to studying, away from the distractions. The library would be the best place. Once they open up, I realize that a lot of them are closed right now because of the current COVID crisis, but they will be opening up again. Or find yourself a quiet place that has little or no distractions. And don't study on an empty stomach. You can't concentrate when your stomach's growling. So have a meal before you start. Bring your water. Keep yourself hydrated. Turn the phone off. Stay off the internet. Don't get distracted. If you're able to, create your own flashcards. You can just take those with you. You can scan them and put them on your phone. And as you're at work, go out through the day. Just kind of start giving yourself some quizzes. You could find a study partner or a group. There's going to be a lot of people that you may know, 1 or 2 people that are in the same boat as you that aspire to be OSHPD inspectors, or you can even start your own study group. Also, you can friend an IOR. A lot of you people that are out there wanting to get into this are probably right now special inspectors, and you know a lot of IORs that you're working with, and you could possibly get some mentorship from them. I'm personally mentoring 2 special inspectors right now, and one of them I know is listening because she texted me, and the other one's sitting here in the office with me. And I'm teaching them a lot of the ideas and not the ideas, but so much the practices of how to maintain, keep yourself out of trouble. Once you do get your license, maintain strictly to the code, and just navigating through the day-to-day exercises that you go through or experiences. So one of the things that I would recommend is to join ACIA and take the RCI Division 2 exam for the building inspection. It's also one of the acceptable prerequisites for your application to OSHPD. And before we started today, I spoke with the current national president, and what they're offering right now. If you go to acia.com, and if you participate in the RCI exam, they'll give you 25% off and they'll also give you a free year membership. And that's the tips that we've got for you. So thank you. Good luck to everybody.
Thank you for that, Dave. That's a lot of good information. And, it's good to hear firsthand from someone who's been through it, is living it, and, a lot of good points that he made there. So thank you for that. Thank you for that. And we're going to go ahead and take this opportunity to go on to, we have about 5 minutes left, so we'll go ahead and power through some of the questions that were asked during the presentation. And this first question that we have here, the question is, will employment as a superintendent for OSHPD, I'm assuming OSHPD projects, qualify? And I'll go ahead and answer that. And I'll answer it because as in reviewing the applications, we see a lot of people from different backgrounds come in and apply. It can be a owner representative, it can be a construction manager, it can be Class C inspector if you're looking to go for a Class A. All I can tell you is look at the administrative code, section 7-204, and if you meet those minimum qualifications, please by all means apply. And if you don't, if you don't know or are unsure, email us and we can have that conversation at oshpd.fddisu@oshpd.ca.gov. With that being said, we have another question. And again, I apologize for powering through this. We only have a couple of minutes left. The question reads, did the amount of questions change? I thought it was previously 100 questions for the code for both A and B exams. Joe, is that something that you think you can provide an answer for?
Yeah, it used to be 100 questions, now they're 80. Yeah, it did change. We're making it more passable. Right now, there was a 2% passing rate. It's not acceptable, people. We want more IORs. We want a lot of good IORs out there. And this pool of people who are a part of this today, certainly candidates to be in that group.
Perfect. Thank you, Joe. The next question we have is, can we tab the plans during the plan reading section of the test? And I'll go ahead and answer that. You can tab the plans during the plan reading section of the test. What we don't want and what may get you disqualified is reading those plans and writing notes into your code book as to what the question is. And, that's obviously may be considered cheating. And it's gotten several people disqualified in the past before. So be conscious. There is a code of conduct when doing the participating in the IOR exams. Something that we view as very important and something to keep in mind. So with that, I'll go on to the next code question. Question. The question reads, which code books should we purchase to study for the exam? And that's a very good question, a question that can be answered if you jump onto our website, www.oshpd.ca.gov, and you go to the Inspection Services Unit section. There's going to be a list of reference materials that are acceptable for the exam. That list is going to give you all the code sections, all of the actual standards that are allowed to be brought into the exam, and help you be successful in the exam as well. Next question is, do you or does anyone know of any training programs for IORs? And Joe, I think this is a great question for you. Maybe you can let him in on what we as ISU are working on.
Training sessions for IORs? Did I get that right?
Yeah, training programs for IORs.
Yeah, so we're working on a number of different things. This thing here, for example, is one piece, but there's also the whole technical dimension of things that we're going to be tackling. We're going to be working with ACIA directly on and trying to gather some technical content that I think you will all find informational and valuable, fire and life safety and so on. But one of the things we're talking about doing is a weekly check-in webinar like this, where we do a 10-minute presentation on one topic. And it's 10 minutes, right? The whole point is it's not going to take you away from your day. You'll have 10 minutes to drill in, see what the top topic is for the day, and answer a polling question about what you think the answer is, and then find out what OSHPD's position is on the issue. So there's a number of things though that are out there. I can't even list them all right at least not now because it's already 11:30. But be on the lookout. We'll send you notices. There's more coming.
So with that being said, it is 11:30, and as Joe said, we'll send you notices. So I'll use that as a segue to remind you all, if you haven't done so already, to sign up for OSHPD's listserv or email service that will send you automatic notifications of anything that OSHPD has coming up, whether it be webinars, whether it be training sessions, whether it be informational notices. If you sign up, you'll get a lot of good information, a lot of up-to-date info from OSHPD. And you can do that, again, by visiting our website, oshpod.ca.gov. Up on the upper right-hand corner, you can sign up and click as to what kind of notifications you want to be notified of. And last but not least, we want to remind you that we have 3 more sessions to the 5-part IOR presentation. Our next session is going to be June 17th on a Wednesday, session 3, how to speak IOR. After that, July 1st, session 4, how to succeed as an IOR. And July 15th, session 5, a summary of all of the previous sessions. And it's going to be a shortened version with a little bit of info from every single session. So again, we want to thank you for joining us on this beautiful Wednesday. I know it's a little hot up in Northern California. I don't know how it is down south, but either way, please be safe, stay safe, and thank you for joining us on this during this webinar. And we hope that you found it informational and helpful. Thank you, and have a good rest of the day. Thank you.